7 years ago, at the day of the catastrophe, a horrifying disaster called the dungeon break occurred. Because of that incident, a lot of people died, including the parents of the protagonist Han Sungyoon. On that day, Han lost everything in an instant and made a pledge to himself that he will definitely become a hunter, rip the monsters apart and kill them. 7 years later in the Catastrophe Memorial Park, Han was sulking over the fact that he was kicked out of the training center. Earlier that day, the trainer told him not to come to the training center anymore as his talent was beyond trash, and that if he let Han stay here anymore, it will ruin the reputation of the training center. However, the trainer thinks that Han is persistent since he comes for training every morning. All the other trainees also mock Han. Then as he was sitting in the bench, he hears a young woman boasting her little daughter's morale and tells her not to give up, no matter what happens. Han hears this, perks up from the bench, salutes her and off he goes. He runs towards the trainer's house while vowing that he won't ever give up. He knocks the trainer's doors and asks the trainer to give him one more chance to take the Hunter's exam. The trainer gets furious and misunderstands that Han has come to get the membership fees back. Han says that this isn't about the money. After hearing this, the trainer punches Han in the face and Han is sent flying crashing the garbage can. At this moment, a status window appears and says that the Tower of Trials is praising your iron will. Somehow, Han is caught in deep water and is unable to breathe. The trainer turns around to beat him up, but is astonished to find that Han has disappeared in thin air. The Tower of Trials asks him to select the difficulty and tells him that the rewards he would get would be directly proportional to the difficulty level he chooses. Han chooses hard as his difficulty, as he wants to seize the opportunity. Soon he is told that he will be entering the first floor of the Tower of Trials. He finds himself in a desert, and soon a sword appears in front of him. Han is told that he would get a unique trait as a reward for clearing the first floor. Han gets really excited, as he is going to get something that he didn't get after working for the past 7 years. As Han goes to pick up the sword, the earth shivers and a huge sand golem appears in front of him, and he is told that the objective of the trial is to survive for the allocated amount of time. The penalty for failure is death. Han tries to run away from the golem, but he soon realizes that he won't be able to survive by running away. His choices were either to die trying to run away or die fighting. At this moment, he remembers the humiliation he suffered from the training center. He decides to fight back, as he is confident that when it comes to theory, he is better than most hunters on the field. As monsters like Golem stop moving if you destroy their core, Han decides to take a gamble and jumps down from a cliff of sand and holds on with the help of his sword. But the Golem rolls down the cliff. Han sees an opportunity and strikes the core of the Golem, but the core was harder than he thought, and he bounces back and gets caught by the Golem. Han thought that everything was over. Right then he remembers about the past suffering and threw his sword towards the Golem's core with full force, destroying the core. Right then, a message pops up saying you have completed the trial. Han falls down after the Golem is destroyed and gets 1500 points and a skill, fast recovery. Han is not able to believe what just happened. He put in a lot of efforts in the past 7 years, but the only thing he got back was scorn and mockery. But now he believes that he can become a hunter too. But for that, he first needs to survive. A window pops out saying that he has unlocked the unique trait, Necromancer, and a blood-colored orb appears where the sand golem had died and asks him whether he would like to absorb the sand golem's spirit. As soon as he selected yes, the blood-colored orb entered his body. Han absorbed the spirit of the sand golem, and his proficiency has increased by 7. He can store up to 5 spirits at once, and he can use these spirits to permanently increase his stats points. After he absorbed the sand golem, his strength stat went up by 3, health stat increased by 2. Han has not been able to raise his stats for the past 7 years, and now he is able to permanently increase them. Han enters the waiting room and falls down due to his injuries, but the healing system of the waiting room heals him immediately. There is only a single bed in the waiting room. Han is thinking what he should do now while lying on the bed. He is told that there are 5 commands, and saying the command word will activate the command. Han says trial, but he is told that each trial has a waiting period. Then he goes to the communities. He finds that everybody is confused about the situation. Then suddenly an admin shows up and tells the players how the coins are used. Points are currency used in the tower, and that you cannot get anything in the tower without points, and that points can only be earned through trials. Han realizes that he needs to quickly adapt to the rules of the trials, as he won't even be able to get water without points. He purchases a shield from the store and starts training, because even though all the hunters lost their stats when they entered the tower, it should be easier to learn the skills that they have learned before. They are not in the same starting line. After he finishes his training, he purchases all the necessary things needed for the trial and his health. The second floor trial is about to begin, and for the second floor, he gets transported to a forest. The subject of the trial is to assassinate the orc tribe leader within the given time limit. Han is shocked by the difficulty of the trial, as the system is asking him to go into a place swarming with orcs and defeat the tribe leader. Han observes the orc village from a distance and says that it is difficult enough to win against one orc hunter, but he has to fight against a lot of orcs. He thinks that a party of E-rank hunters is necessary to make sure you don't die, and decides to retreat for the time being in order to come up with an action plan. He then has an idea to clear the trial. He lights up a wooden torch and decides to light enough firewood. Han then observes his opponent and thinks that although orcs appear lazy, they still work in an organized way. The hunters always hunt in the morning and returns when the sun starts to set, which would give Han ample amount of time to complete his trial. Han decides that the only way to complete this very difficult task is with fire. Han thinks that according to the Hunters Association, the orcs are not always guarding their places. They return to their village for taking breaks or to eat. Han closes the whole village with a fire outbreak so that the hunters from outside are unable to return. Then he decides to kill at least 2 workers. Han kills one of the orc workers and absorbs his spirit. His proficiency has increased to 9%. Han is then attacked by a guard orc. So with the help of the stored spirits, Han attacks back, and thus his stats rise. Strength is increased by 4 and agility is increased by 2. Han pins down the guard and his recovery skill is revitalized, and also his stamina is increased by 4. Now Han has to kill 3 workers, 1 guard and the orc leader. Because of absorbing the guard spirit, the workers are not a threat to Han anymore. However, the second guard is a treacherous one. However, Han is also persistent, so the guard then stops guarding its leader. After defeating the last obstacle, Han heads towards slaying the clan leader. The clan leader is no piece of cake and throws dashes of fire at Han. However, Han survives that by using his shield and achieves the title, the one who endured fire, and his skill of fire resistance gets created. Han lunges forward towards the clan leader with a new spirit. Soon Han and the chief orc have a terrible face-off, and both fight diligently. However, Han steps forward and cuts both hands of the chief. The chief runs towards his tent in terror and hides, and opens the tent and peeks inside. He sees 2 child orcs clinging to the chief, who is apparently their father. The children are crying bitterly. Soon one of the child approaches Han, kneels down and touches his feet, and a wave of pity washes over Han, who asks them if those guys also value family. Han has a flashback of the past, when his parents were being killed and they told Han to run away and save his own life. Lost in his own thoughts, Han comes to the present, and when he sees the cunning child orc taking out a dagger from his back and is about to attack him, Han says that even if he becomes a ghost, he would cut the monster's bloodline. He successfully kills them all and completes the second trial. He decides to throw away his shield as it can't be used anymore, and learns that half of the community members had died in the second floor. Then one of the members in the community say that he has found out how to return to Earth using his question voucher. Han quickly uses the question command and learns that he could send a message to the moderator, and the moderator will then send him a reply. After every trial, he will get a question voucher. Through the chats, Han also learned that there is a temporary return stone for sale that can be used to return to Earth for a couple of days when he completes the 5th floor. There is also information that after the 7th floor, an extensive system expansion will occur, and the item that can make you permanently return to Earth are sold. Han thinks that if he goes back to Earth with his current abilities, he could easily become an A-rank hunter. However, Han thinks that his stats were nothing when he came to the tower, and decides to stay positive. He then decides to absorb the 5 spirits, and strength overflows, escalating his stats further. He then buys a big dead tree shield for 2100 points, which gives him a buffer when his stamina drops. Han also buys a black steel dagger to increase his fighting level. Lastly, he buys an assassin's cape, which would increase the movement speed by 1 minute. However, it has a 24 hours cooldown period. The cape would also increase the user's agility stats by 5 when his agility is under 50. Next, he decides to get used to his new equipment before the trial. Soon he enters the third trial and finds himself under a deep dark cave. This time, the subject is a duel with the Guardian of Darkness. Han is on guard for this because the Guardian can attack from any side. But to his horror, his doppelganger emerges from within him. It seems that Han has to fight a terrible battle with his own menacing shadow. The Guardian attacks first, and if Han hadn't moved, it would have severed his spine. Well guys, that is it for the first part of the video. If you want a second part, comment below with the word flash. If you have stayed till the end of the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will help us a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Until next time.